Everything is about initiations. Our culture doesn't initiate us. Our school systems, even our parents, we're not in that sort of community like we see in indigenous cultures where there's rites of passage, where we learn to really honor the sacred energies of life, including sexual energy and relationships. And, it's basically what you get from the television, what those distortions are. And we have to understand, we signed up for the tree of knowledge. The knowledge is to be targeted with mind control. And these programmings are so detrimental that it blows my mind that there's not an inner voice that is creating that red alert saying, hey, that's an artificial timeline. Hey, that's transhumanism, and that's going to compromise your soul and potentially put you in a position where you've lost contact with your soul. And when you're in the wilderness for long enough, it's like, you get so tuned into how to survive and how to work in a group that the most critical thing to survival is creating harmony.
Welcome, LOC community. This is Richie Jones. I am your host today. And with the introduction today, you saw a little bit of Contact in the Desert last year from our guest today, who is the one, the only Miss Laura Eisenhower. Laura, how are you doing today?
Hello, Richie. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure to talk to you once again. We got to see you last year at Contact in the Desert, and honestly, your words that you spoke last year at Contact were some of my most inspirational, especially your talk about spirituality and how it's kind of been lost in the current translation. So where do you think humankind needs to go from this point in spirituality to kind of get back to an earth balance, really?
I think people need to be okay with the fact that we're wounded. There's a lot of work that needed to be done, and it's still a heavy density, but we're not going to get through it and make it a higher reality if we don't walk the talk. And I think it's very frustrating for people because they expected to be sort of in this ascended higher vibration, or something was going to come and take them out of here, or I don't know, or they think, all of it is BS. So, it's kind of a mixture of both. Be practical with yourself, deal with the human vessel, and listen to your body. What is it telling you? And pay attention to wounds. Be willing to heal with community, with partners, with yourself, with family. And if it's too painful, be ready for a boundary, and just unlove.
Exactly. Yeah, I completely agree there. I think that we've really gotten away from really consequences. We're kind of a pampered society a little bit, and we don't think there are any consequences for our actions when there are a multitude of consequences for every action that we make. So I think we really need to get back to that higher vibration, the more the we aspect more than the me aspect. And community for us is huge. We love our community. I mean, this whole website started off of a community of people that met on the internet, and we came together. I moved out here from North Carolina. Clint's from New Jersey. Chase is from here in Arizona. We have content creators from Australia. We have content creators from England. We have content creators from Canada. So we're all big on the big picture. And community for you, what do you see being a community in the future, as far as our actions, how we treat each other, everything of that nature?
Well, being okay if there's differences of opinion. Oneness is diversity and harmony. I think it's important, that there's one or at least three representatives of each country, star system, or tribe to come together at important gatherings, that can live stream to everybody else, where there can be questions and answers, because the thing is, the leaders, would recognize that They are a voice of the people. It's not a hierarchy. You know what I mean?
I love that you say that, the hierarchy. I think we've gotten out of balance with that. You know, the power sits with the people, not with the people sitting on the top. And that's something that we all need to realize to really come into our own power and kind of change the way everything's going in this world.
Yes, I mean that's the most important thing. It's not an ego thing. We need to represent, the greater global consciousness, and it doesn't matter, race or tribe. We just have to have those that are willing to come forward to be a voice for the rest of us to help heal, these wounds and these wars. But, somebody representing all this diversity would be ideal, of course, because there's a lot of confusion about, racism and this or that. But we have to step away from the governments because they screw it all up and they don't understand.
Exactly.
Disclosure has to come through us, right? So let's do it.
Speaking of disclosure, you have a little bit of a backstory that a lot of people that are listening may not know about. What happened to you back in 2006?
I was recruited to go off planet to a colony on Mars, and they set me up with somebody. I just thought somebody was inviting me to go on a Mars mission that was maybe going to be a public thing. I didn't understand the secret space program at the time. But then I, found out along the way, in the relationship that it was secret and that it was connected to these other layers of the military-industrial complex.
Yeah, that would be considered the black budget, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, black ops. Black ops agendas, control agendas, infiltrated agendas, a hidden Mars agenda. There's colonization all over the cosmos, and there's ancient ruins all over the cosmos. But there, is a specific Mars agenda connected to conditions after the Second World War and what took place during the Eisenhower administration. And so I learned a lot, being recruited. And there was no other whistleblowers I had to refer to at the time. I just followed my intuition. But, there's more information out now, of course. So I've always had a mission to stay here with Gaia. And, now there's lots of whistleblowers, and we're all connecting the dots and in these larger conversations, which is great. So thanks for, holding space for all this and the work you do, because it's so important.
Oh, thank you for that. We really enjoy it. Clint just talked to James Perloff like 2 or 3 weeks ago and really found out about the, hidden history behind World War II and what was really going on. And I know you have stated in previous interviews that an agreement that was made with a higher being was that the Nazis took the mind control technology and the United States took, what was it that the United States took from that treaty?
Right. And, the abductions, the mind control, things connected to Montauk, colonization on Mars and the building of, or construction of underground bases. We see chemtrails. I mean, that all definitely was something that was increased after war. And it's just interesting. There's so many different levels to this. But yeah, look at the government. I mean, Kennedy got assassinated. There's been nothing but secrecy. Eisenhower was, the last real president known to have real contact. And that's, it really all cut off with only, a few presidents leaking, info here and there. And then this, major Illuminati sort of dynasty with the Clintons and Bushes. So it's been pretty intense. And the weaponry, it's the mind control, and then, the targeting of our food, just basic, weather modification and the continuation of, vaccines and yeah, fluoride in our water, all that. And just what we see in the media, but people are still awakening, because there is a deeper soul journey, and, souls that are awakened enough, even if they're sort of unconscious, will break through, and hopefully change the game. But artificial intelligence, is still kind of breathing down our neck. But I really do feel that we are in a vibration of victory, and we just got to keep exposing, what's going on so people can have better discernment.
Yeah, exactly. I know you speak of higher vibrations. I know you have a lot of knowledge with the chakras and energy systems as well. And I myself am actually a Reiki master as well. So can you explain like the chakra systems above the crown? Because so many people just deal with the crown. They don't understand our true connection to source. So can you kind of explain your knowledge of our connection to source through our higher chakra systems?
Yes, well, our chakra system and DNA connect with the earth grids and the multidimensional reality that we exist in. It connects with higher earth energies, and so when we initiate into a higher chakra or turn on a dormant strand of DNA, we're actually moving into a different frequency of earth. The higher earth energies, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, well, actually 4, 5, 6. If we start 4, 5, 6, the 4, 5, 6 region has to do with alchemy, self-love, and how we communicate. So when people talk about 5D ascension, it has to do with, getting our power back and using our words to, be incredible manifestors. But at the same time, we're opening up to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and that completes sort of the 12-strand DNA, which connects to the 12 stargates on Earth. But then there's 13, 14, and 15, which relates to the Trinity. And 13 is actually an energy signature within the core of the Earth, which is the Mother Earth. And that opens us up actually to the 0 point and the neutron window that reconnects us to Andromeda. It's chakras 8 and 9 that are Orion and Andromeda coming back together. The 8th chakra actually connects in the base of the skull. So much of humanity has been chipped there, and there's a lot of psychic attack when we begin to wake up those energy centers. So people, very often when they're ready to move into that chakra, it actually forms a spiral, an 8, an infinity spiral with the number 9. And there's a lot of psychic attack when you start to move into that. And then after 9, then you start to go into the 10, 11, 12, which is the lyre and avatar portion of our DNA. And, people have, memories of the Galactic Wars, when Lyra was attacked. So it's not easy to go into these layers without hitting either very difficult memories or a lot of attack.
Yeah, it's not something that many people really had much knowledge of until I would say 4 years ago or so. A lot of people have really opened up to their energy, their bodily energy, their spiritual energy. And even if they didn't know it, a lot of people that I know from my past, my awakening was 2012. That sounds so cliche, but it's true. And one of my buddies as well. One of my buddies back home was like a huge World of Warcraft fan, played World of Warcraft for hours upon hours upon hours, and all of a sudden just decided to start running Spartan races. I mean, who goes from playing video games for 12 hours a day to doing, 30-mile endurance obstacle courses? So it's cool to see so many people from so many backgrounds and so many different kinds of attitudes to come together and kind of forge the mind, body, spirit. Because if you think about it, that's the Holy Trinity. That's the mind, body, and the spirit. And you have people whose, knowledge bases are usually within one of those three. So it's cool to see the people come together and say, hey, I can help you with, control your mind and get your mind out of the masses. And other people can say, hey, I can heal your body and turn it into the best version of you possible. And then other people that say, hey, I can connect you with spirit and, bring your spirit back. Because when you spirit's everything, It's like Graham Hancock said last year, we've taken the spirit out of everything. And if we just take the spirit out of everything, we're just meat, I think people are really starting to come back to that mentality of we have to have some form of hope, some form of, something, it's not just go to work 9 to 5 every day, have a kid, buy a house and die, that we're capable of so much more than that. And I think people like you are really helping to push that along.
Well, thank you.
So speaking of sacred feminine, let's go there for a second. So this whole war on ISIS, supposedly, what do you think that they are trying to do by defaming ISIS? I mean, anybody that knows anything knows the name of the group is called ISIL, but here in the United States we call it ISIS. Why do you think they are trying to defame the sacred feminine?
Because it's the 13th gate, it's the mother energy, and the daughter, the Sophia, that came in to give the soul a chance to come home. And it's the Draco's food source, the soul energy. There's dark technologies that have been siphoning on souls for thousands of years. They put that technology in place to affect, the Earth grid, to impact the sacred geometries. They scrambled most of the sacred geometries, and if you actually, the ones online aren't even the ones that can activate us. And the reason the sacred feminine has been so targeted is because she's the unconditionally loving mother that will not give up on her kids. When we look at our ancient history, we're in a free will universe. The masculine and feminine energies differentiated. There was a sort of a negative ego construct that got created, but it started to hybridize and it started to draw souls away from source and away from the mother. And it actually created cataclysms and exploded planets, and we sank from a higher harmonic universe into this lower one. But the mother energy morphed into this planetary body. People think this is a 3D world, but it's not. It's a multidimensional world connected to the mother energy. But she's like kind of androgynous, so it's not like, it's all the female. She holds the balance. It's all about the balance of the masculine and feminine, really. And that's what the grids reveal. So it's really, the feminine Christ consciousness that is the true template that all humans have within them. And if we can wake up to this, we'll start to switch on, dormant strands of DNA. It doesn't mean we have to be perfect. I think when we hear the name Christ or, we start to hear those words, and it doesn't have to be the name Christ, but it could be Shiva Shakti even, or just balancing the masculine and feminine, the divine masculine and feminine. The most important thing is that we just devote to the journey. Perfection is not needed. There's a lot of clearing and wounds that need to be addressed. And as long as we can be honest with each other and as a humanity, we can move to the next level. But we're pulling ourselves out of a lot of real major trauma.
Yeah, we've been through years of it, it seems. I mean, just decades upon decades of endless war and trauma and just such negative thinking, the whole nationality, I'm better than you because of where I live, we have a lot of separatism going now. And I think, as you say, it's going more towards a unity consciousness, where we come together as one and make sure that we help one another to get where we need to go. And when we come together as one, anything is possible. We can go anywhere from there.
Absolutely. It's like the global immune system is our unity consciousness, and it'll help to get rid of the parasitic influences. So we got to agree, to disagree, and that's okay. We got to let love, be the guiding principle, and we all have our information and our own truth, things that work for us that don't work for us. We have different stages that we're in, different places on the timeline that we incarnated into from, and we just got to, sort of cut each other some slack, be compassionate. The best thing, though, is to have an open mind and, be willing to listen and be bold and be willing to share, but no pressure. Wait till you feel ready. Maybe, write first or do something creative.
Yeah, you speak of reincarnation. Let's delve into that just a little bit. So you are of like-minded nature of me to where it's not just a one and done. You have more of a mission to accomplish than just that. What are your thoughts on reincarnation?
Well, there's a deeper soul journey. If one wants to learn about reincarnation through astrology, learn about the North and South Node. That's Node. And basically, it's symbolic of like the Ouroboros, the serpent biting its tail, where we, kind of complete cycles and move to the next level and sort of spiral, upwards, kind of like Kundalini, right? So it offsets the lower reptilian energy when we get in touch with our deeper soul energy, because when we're in touch with our deeper soul energy, we're in touch with Mother Earth and her stargates. And when we can activate the stargates within ourselves and on the planet, we wipe out the lower constructs of ego and reptilian mindsets and entities and negative beings and factions that have tried to control the human race. And we begin to recognize that dragon power. I'm sorry, maybe just ask the question again in case I went off on a tangent.
Just your thoughts on reincarnation. Just, what happens?
Right.
Like, what happens when we die? Like, is it just like going to light being the birth canal, or is there a separate...
Right. Well, okay, so I mentioned the Ouroboros and the North and South Node. So we incarnate on this wheel. And we wear different hats and we experience different archetypal energies. We go through, different storylines. We might have great wealth. We might have lifetimes of being, very compromised or even, crippled. Or, we might come in from the future. We might, also come in from a whole other system or even from a subterranean civilization. So, yeah, reincarnation, it's a real deal thing. Death is something we're actually learning to break. It's sort of a program, and this body's actually designed to be immortal, but it's been programmed to die. But it's more the programming that wants to die. And if you think about how programmed most humans are, why do we die? Because most of the time we're carrying so much crap, we can't continue with our human vessel. And then there's those that have been wanting to keep the human vessel alive, but they've turned to vampirism instead of what it means to truly be a master. And, false channeling and a lot of false ascended master energies out there. So, you got to really, look to yourself and readings and astro readings to help a person, do that. Work with the shadow, work with light and dark, work with the masculine and feminine and what that balancing means, clear ancestral patterns and take health to the next level.
Exactly. You've got to start somewhere, and we're not going to get there, all at once. It's going to take a little bit of building your knowledge base, building your abilities as a person to get there eventually. It's not one and done, You're going to take a million lifetimes to get to where you need to go, And I just wanted to talk to you about Contact in the Desert, which is coming up, 3 weeks from now? You'll be there.
22nd.
Yep, I think it's what, the 19th through the 22nd. Yep. So you are speaking there on a few panels. You have a workshop, and you also have an intensive. Your workshop is going to be on the necessity of these times. And what do you think the necessity of these times are? You know, why do we need to go through this as a species in order to get where we need to go?
I think we need to understand what the medical industries have been keeping from us. You know, things that will really support the physical right now, so that we can raise the frequency of the human vessel and begin to, you know, move into the ascendant energies. You know, what does it mean right now? What is it going to take? You know, what sort of supplements and minerals? I mean, like what is available to us that, you know, can assist us? So I'll be sharing resources. I'll be helping with activations. I'll be, you know, reminding everybody about DNA and the love story that exists within our DNA, you know, and encouraging people to go for the authentic relationship with self, you know, divorcing all the imposters and all the things that want to take our energy. You know, we have the knowledge and ability within us. Things like herbs and other healing modalities are tools to assist us in our healing, you know, but they're not going to do it for us. But they are in resonance with what's already inside. So we got to go deep into the root. And we also got to look at our ancient history and galactic history to understand how to do the exact same thing on a global level. So I'll be addressing sort of the micro and macro.
So yeah, you delve really deep into galactic history as well, like into Lemuria, Atlantis. Do you feel that those cultures were more of a feminine base than a masculine base? From what I've researched, I kind of get that they were more the left-brained, where now we're more in a right-brained world.
Well, there are all sorts of, you know, civilizations and, you know, different timelines and different dimensions and, you know, more than one Atlantis and Lemuria. You know, and when we look at Atlantis and Lemuria, they kind of are like the right and left brain. You know, Atlantis being more masculine-driven, Lemurian being more feminine. But, you know, ultimately they work best in balance, but they got out of balance. The original balance was Tiamat and Apsu, but Tiamat is the planet that exploded. And that's when our DNA and the whole sacred union template got compromised in the cosmos, in our, you know, planetary systems, and here on Earth. And so the metaphors of the tree of life and the tree of knowledge are connected to our DNA.
Yeah, a lot of people here I don't think are going to understand Tiamat. So can you explain Tiamat just a little bit so they kind of understand where you're coming from with that?
She's known as the Dragon Queen. And in mythology, she's married to Apsu, spelled A-P-S-U. And they were in, like, perfect balance. And then, you know, in a free will universe, we begin to, you know, there was, you know, different experiments of the seeding of the humans. But because there were galactic wars, there was, you know, competition about what these humans would be and what they would be made of. And that followed us till, you know, this particular Earth that we're in now, which was formed after Tiamat and Meldak. Meldak and Tiamat are between Mars and Jupiter, and they're actually the asteroid belt.
Yeah, it's fascinating there, just to go back that far into, you know, the solar system and the history of the solar system, and just most people don't realize how deep the rabbit hole goes there and how different things were, you know, millions of years ago, and can't even wrap their minds around multi-dimensions and things like that.
Yeah, that's touching the surface, but it's, you know, I touch upon it and I go much more in depth in my talk to help people understand Tiamat, Maldak, you know, how it became the asteroid belt, the different archetypes in the asteroid belt, you know, and also this infiltration of the Dracos, the different wars, and the different factions of the Anunnaki, and the higher races that were created to heal the wars, but how factions of the Anunnaki were created to actually target those higher groups. They're not the chosen ones, but they, you know, were activators, ones to really be guardians of the template. And, so the crystal kids and the indigo kids are examples in the Grail lines, and they're very heavily targeted. But the orphan consciousness, which is the highest level of consciousness that holds that rainbow body, was part of that seeding before those planets exploded. And they're still coming in and incarnating. We all have access to that DNA within us, but some people remember all this a little bit more than others, and they come and help, to activate. So, crystal embodied people and indigo have been the labels. I tend to not like the label, but, we find healing modalities, working with crystal, with sound and color and frequency and stones and crystals, versus, a draconian hierarchical, system with a shadow government.
Exactly.
But they're helping positive, and that's why kids, are put on Ritalin, and, the school system really silences, some of these really advanced souls. But the thing is, we all have the potential to be on that level. We just have to, recognize the game that's been played.
Yeah, exactly. You speak of, crystals and their healing powers and their properties. I am a firm believer, as people can see on the video here. It's not video of you, just video of me. I've got a ton of stone bracelets. I've got a ton of stones that I keep in my room. And every full moon, I go and charge them. So for me, they really help me to keep me in a high vibrational state, to keep me out of the negative world, to keep me away from just the mainstream philosophies and everything like that. And they really do help me. So I know some people think that's crazy, but for me, they do. They don't work for everybody. But yeah, crystals, stones, everything like that, they have a vibration. They do affect us in some way. And in a way, they are life themselves. They're first dimensional life, since they do have a vibration. So I'm a firm believer in stones and crystals. I mean, just huge. So thank you for, going into that.
Herbs and organite and, sound healing, crystal bowls, Tibetan bowls, and, really learning about how, the voices, where alchemy is, and ultimately the bridge between the higher and lower, we can begin to integrate and be more conscious of the words that we choose. If we want to use essential oils too, I mean, these things just help us to stay in a high vibration. They remind us to not slip into a programming or, a downward spiral. They help, us to find our balance. But, our words and our expression, that's what sends ripples out to the collective and helps to raise the vibration. Be your unique embodiment. Unity consciousness doesn't mean you give up your uniqueness. But, it's about harmonizing like an orchestra.
Yeah, we're all have to be in harmony and unity in some way, shape, or form.
And when it's not in harmony, we learn from it, and it's okay. But certainly just don't suck it up to be on the dark side. It's not about that anymore. But if you do, that's your path. I'm not thinking that's a great choice, but I'm in a place of unconditional love and forgiveness. And there's reasons people choose it, and there's lots of different scenarios. We can't have it all figured out with generalizations. I mean, there's too many different scenarios and agreements and contracts, and free will universe is pretty wild.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's pretty much an endless bounty game. You can play it however you want. It's just we've decided to play ours a little bit differently over the past few years. So,
right.
Yeah, like disclosure. What part of the disclosure timeline do you think we are on right now? Where do you think in the next few years, what information do you think is going to come out that may start to kind of change people's minds? Because a lot of people still don't believe in the disclosure timeline. They think we're the only thing in the universe, and as far as all of us go, we all know that that's not the case. So where do you think we sit at on the disclosure timeline, and how far do you think it is away?
Well, I mean, if we're going to follow somebody like Corey and the date, and where are we with the data dumps, or the slow leaking disclosure? I mean, there's that over there, and that's great and all, and that's important to keep our eye on. I'm not waiting for data dump or watching as it just drips slowly like a coffee drop. Drip, drop. I'm taking it upon myself to make disclosure loud, accelerated, and right here, right now. Let's go, folks. And let's all join together. So the timeline that I know, and to answer that question, is based on what I, am choosing to do instead of what I'm observing, because I know that I can impact the collective, and I'm just like you, trying to reel people in and all right, let's talk about this. What are we going to do about this? I think it's time. Yes, humanity's ready. Humanity was ready to get their limbs blown off in a war. Yeah, they can accept conversations about extraterrestrials. There's no excuse. We got to get the information out there. We got to bust the crimes against humanity. And, the time is now. The time has been now for a long time.
Yeah, they say we are the ones we've been waiting for, and I completely and totally agree with that sentiment. People like you and everybody else that's going to be over at Contact and all the other events that you do as well. It's just amazing how much information you guys have to share with the world, and it's just an honor to be a part of it. And, just to introduce you to people who I think wouldn't have the chance to be, in your presence. I come from a place in the Southeast, which is kind of, not backwoods, but kind of closed-minded, and to be able to share information with them, it means a lot to me. And, it's not necessarily so much different than what they've been told, it's just a different story, everything shares the same, backstory, really. So, without you guys, I don't know where the world would be right now, not being... A lot of people are scared to share their information with the world, and you're not. So thank you so much, Laura.
Well, thank you. I don't know, where all of us would be without somebody like you that gives us a voice. We're all like, in this together, and we all have our roles. So, people who are listening, just be you, and if you need assistance, that assistance is there. And I am that person that you can reach out to, and I can do session work with you, and I can work with your budget. I'm very fair with prices, and I'm also a consultant. If you can't wrap your head around some of the stuff I share in my talk, we can have a chat, and I can help you to understand it, and I can help get you just a lot of material and resources as well.
What all services do you offer, Laura? I know you're a multi-talented individual.
Well, I do readings. I'm a astrologer. I'm a tarot reader, and I'm a clairvoyant. I focus on soul-centered astrology. I also do consulting about, the talks that I do. Most of it's all geared around, how one can be sovereign, how to clear ancestral patterns, how to stand in your power and really understand your own abilities, and reclaim them. A lot of times, the clients I have, they were born with their abilities switched on, but their abilities turned into poison because their parents or their friends projected upon them or felt threatened by them. So I help sort of heal that and bring clarity to some of those maybe unconscious wounds, or to help, redirect those energies if you are conscious of those wounds. It's a very multi-layered type thing. But yeah, I utilize astrology, tarot, and clairvoyance. And again, if you want a consultation about some of the information I talk about, I can do sessions, and go to lauraeisenhower.com for all that kind of stuff.
You heard it from her. Go check her out, lauraeisenhower.com. Laura, I will see you in 3 weeks at Contact, and I would love to do a follow-up with you there. I would love to attend one of your workshops and kind of get video footage to kind of show. So I would love this to be a to be continued and, you know, do something more in 3 weeks while we're in Joshua Tree.
I would love that as well. That would be great. So, yeah, stay in touch with me for sure.
I certainly will. Laura, thank you for your time tonight. We really appreciate it. You know, I'll see you in 3 weeks, and I hope everybody that's watching this has a wonderful night, and thank you from LOC Media for your time and your love. So, Laura, have a wonderful night, and I'll talk to you soon.